ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Friday, the 23rd day of February, year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Well, the top news story continues to be the story out of Florida. Apparently, the television network CNN was scripting and controlling what was supposed to be spontaneous utterances from the young students who were on this TV show. So they just made themselves look like complete fools. And I'm glad that this one boy came forward to spill the beans about how CNN was controlling everything that took place at that allegedly spontaneous town hall meeting. Prepper tip of the day. If you have not tried out electronic earmuffs, most people have not. Most people don't know they even exist. I urge you to get yourself a pair. You can get them now on Amazon.com for about $20 delivered to your door. Electronic earmuffs. Their main purpose is to protect your hearing while you're shooting firearms. However, consider this. If you're in a tactical situation where there's a home invasion, where there's criminals mean you harm, if you have your electronic earmuffs on, you will have a dramatic tactical advantage. A dramatic tactical advantage to be able to hear the criminals, what they're saying to each other, if there's more than one, hear what they're doing at some distance away, things you would never hear otherwise. So the prepper tip of the day is to make sure all your team members have electronic earmuffs. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Tom Berryhill. Tom is a gentleman who took the time, made the effort, beginning more than half a century ago, to become a ham radio operator and go on to have a career involving electronics and radio frequency engineering. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning.
Well, sir, I want to talk a little bit about how communications could have helped what happened a week ago in Florida in that high school. I just found out yesterday, late in the day, there was a deputy sheriff on duty at that high school in uniform, armed, probably with body armor. The shooting incident lasted 7 minutes. The deputy did respond and was at the scene of the shooting within 90 seconds, a minute and a half, when he stopped and did not proceed to stop the shooter. Now, there's video of him cowering in his... this man was is a coward, cowering outside the building, refusing to go in. And what we don't know is the communication that was taking place between him and his higher authority at the sheriff's office. We don't know if there were other officers responding, but this is a good example, I believe, of how effective communications may have made a difference in that. What do you think, sir?
Well, John, I heard about that fellow who did that. He I think he went in or something after 4 minutes or something like that. Way too late to be of any help. Certainly the wrong man for the job, that's for sure. But yeah, as to communications, I'm sure he had radio equipment, a portable radio with him. It probably would be interesting to listen to in on that conversation. I wonder.
Right.
I wonder what was said. I heard he resigned, so he was.
He was about to resign. He was within hours, if not minutes, of being suspended when he resigned. Of course, he's the one who will have to bear that burden the rest of his life, knowing that his cowardice caused an unknown number of deaths, because we don't know how many deaths he could have prevented. And he's the one who will have to live with that the rest of his life. And talk about a living hell. That would certainly be a living hell. But typical police procedures would have him either responding to a call from a dispatcher or responding on his own accord because of what was going on inside the school, and then reporting his progress and his observations as he's approaching the active shooter. I've been in some active shooter drills. One recently I was in was the FBI was the instructors. We had a couple of FBI agents out of St. Louis, I believe. And current protocols for responding to an active shooter is to not wait for backup, not go to the trunk of your car to put on your black ninja jumpsuit, just to immediately run into the school and stop the active shooter immediately. That's how they're trained nationwide these days, Tom. So there's probably recordings, assuming he followed protocols, of him reporting his status, where he was, what he was hearing, what he was observing, and what he was about to do or not do. And hopefully those recordings will be made public. Tom, what do you think?
Well, they should be. And John, yes, most radio traffic on police channels is recorded. And it's what surprises me, though, is I guess kind of like the body camera. Sometimes the equipment malfunctions at the, when the action gets kind of hot. But you know what I'm saying? It's
right.
Sometimes the recordings mysteriously didn't work at that proper moment. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. I used to work on some of that equipment, by the way, for St. Louis County Police, and it was quite an elaborate recording system. There were malfunctions, but they were very rare.
Well, I know back in the 70s, St. Louis City Police Department set up a, by today's standards, primitive tracking system using radio equipment. And the police officers, when they would go on duty, they would wrap aluminum foil around the antenna at the beginning of the shift.
That would work.
and then when their shift was over, they would remove the aluminum foil.
Oh, boy.
So, which brings up, I know, which brings up something I mention occasionally, and that's there's always a simple, inexpensive countermeasure for any expensive, high-tech Star Wars technology, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There's always countermeasures that are very inexpensive and simple. Sometimes the more sophisticated the system is, the easier it is to defeat with very simple methods.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to radios, people need to have the knowledge, they need to have the equipment, they need to have the training, and of course practice, don't they?
That's right. That's right. And you know, John, we talk so much about the emergency uses of these radios. I like to always make everybody aware of the fact that so many of these little inexpensive radios that everybody seems to purchase when they become a ham operator, they have too many buttons on them. They're too complex. They're inexpensive, and they have alarms built into them, flashlights, everything you can think of. I think that's the wrong type of equipment to use because in a stressful situation, you might not be able to even actuate the proper button or procedure that it takes to use that radio for that situation. I really feel that simple is best, and personally, I like the Motorola radios that do have programmable frequencies from the keypad, but other than that, there's really no other functions to that radio. You simply put it on the channel that you want to use and start, push to talk and let go to listen. It's that simple, and I like those the best.
Well, that's what the professionals carry. The police, the deputy sheriffs, the Secret Service, the fire department, the paramedics. The radios, they're just radios. They don't have all these other gee whiz flashing accessories that are built into these ham radios. Now that's market driven also. These companies that manufacture ham radios, all they're doing is meeting market demand. Is all they're doing. On one hand, on the other, I could not agree more, Tom. Simple is good when you're in a high stress situation, especially if you're not used to being in a high stress situation and dealing with tachyphrenia and adrenaline, both. The simpler, the better. So one of the reasons we're talking and have a discussion this morning is there's movement at the national level and at state, county, and local levels to have trained, armed teachers in these schools. There's already been pushback saying that the teachers won't be able to hit what they're aiming at. Well, that flies in the face of the experience of people with concealed carry training successfully defending their lives, the lives of people that are other innocent individuals. There's, in fact, it's kind of ironic. The concealed carry permit holders have a better record of not having accidental discharges and not shooting innocent bystanders. They have a better record of that than the police do, of all things. But that's what the record does show. So it's the pushback from liberals and anti-gun people is predictable. It's already happening. It doesn't change the fact, and it is a fact, that these schools need to be arming and training teachers, custodians, bus drivers, administrative people to have and carry firearms on the premises to stop the active shooter immediately before any more innocent life can be lost. Same thing applies to churches. Churches need to have armed, trained individuals to protect the innocent people going to church. That's our reality. I don't believe we're going to change the mental health system. I was mentioning earlier in the week, Tom, that an 18-year-old young man in 1964 could buy an AR-15 through the mail and have it delivered to his door with no background check. Just send a money order in the mail for, I think, $189.95, and the AR-15 would be delivered by the Postal Service a few days later. Same thing with ammunition and magazines. In 1968, that could still be done. The only thing different is the people. Access to firearms is far more restrictive than it was half a century ago when we didn't have school shootings. So you look at what's the same, Tom, and you look at what's different. The AR-15s are the same, although more regulated and more restrictive. Ammunition, the magazines. What's different is the people. And you're old enough to remember that back in the day, around 1970 or so, is when they stopped locking up people who could cause harm to themselves or others, putting them in the general population with their very own prescription for psychotropic drugs. It has not worked out too well, has it, Tom?
No, it's not worked out at all. Not real good. You know, John, I moved here to the country in 1998, and I remember back then, even with all these school shootings and everything, I remember at the local high school in deer season, I would see gun racks in the back windows of these pickup trucks right there in the parking lot at the school, and there were deer rifles in those trucks.
That's right.
Nobody said a word, and just 20 years ago they were doing that. Now, I don't know how that would have gone in the big city, but out here in the country, it was just no big deal. No big deal at all.
Right.
It may still be allowed. I don't know. I don't get up there to the high school too much anymore, but it's possible that maybe get a permission slip or something, and you're allowed to do that. These kids would get a few hours of deer hunting in after school, and some of them before school started. You know, they'd be out there when the sun was coming up. So
that's right.
I think it was just no big deal, and it may still be that way at the high school here in this area.
Well, in Crawford County, where I live, it's the most urban city is Cuba, Missouri, where a student recently was arrested by the police for having an arrow in his car. No bow, just an arrow. At the other end of the county, where I live, in Viburnum, Missouri, which is actually 200 or 300 yards outside Crawford County, but a lot of Crawford County students. It's still that way, where during deer season, it's expected these students would have deer rifles in their pickup trucks. Of course they would. That's just the culture we live in out here. So we have a mixed bag in Crawford County. Now, the gun racks we see in back of pickup trucks in the 50s, 60s, and 70s pretty much no longer exist. It's a rare occasion I see an actual gun rack with a rifle or a shotgun in it these days. And I do occasionally see a image of a graphic image of a rifle or shotgun rack with a rifle in it, but that's all it is a photograph, kind of, I guess, is in remembrance of those days when men did actually have rifles and shotguns in rifle racks in their pickup trucks. The concern now, of course, is theft, and that was not a concern in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, but it's become a concern, and you rarely see a rifle or shotgun rack with a rifle or shotgun in it these days. It's just the way things have gone in our current culture, Tom.
Well, I did see it with my own eyes at the high school on a couple of occasions, a gun rack. Now, perhaps Grandpa gave it to him or something like that. I'm sure they had the truck locked, and it's a pretty secure place. And the thing, John, out here in the country, everybody knows everybody, and if you do something wrong, everybody knows about it by the end of the day. So it travels from one end of town to the other. Everybody kind of looks out for each other and what's going on. Everybody knows what cars belong on their road and what cars don't belong on their road and things like that. So it doesn't take too much effort to keep an eye on what's happening. And I think if a kid had that deer rifle in his pickup truck hanging in the back window, I don't think anybody would touch it around here. The theft, yeah, that could be a problem, so keep the doors locked. And things are changing. I'm thinking 20 years back also, but they certainly are changing. But anyway, things are really different nowadays.
Absolutely, they are. If you've got a question or comment, we're talking about a lot of things, including emergency communications. The call number is 800-313-9443. Tom, my prepper tip of the day, and this has to do with electronics, not so much radios, but communication, verbal communication, electronic earmuffs. Let's talk about that when we come back from the break. Electronic earmuffs. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 23rd of February. I'll be speaking in Dallas in March. There's a banner at my website if you want to get the discount. Just click on that banner to get the discount for attending the event live. If you can't attend live, there's another different discount, another one for the live stream version of that event. I will be the keynote speaker at that event in Dallas in March, and look forward to seeing a lot of you there. Tom, have you ever used electronic earmuffs yourself?
No, I haven't, John. I'm a bit familiar with the technology and how it works, and I know they're very effective. It makes talking and communicating a lot easier using a earmuff like that. I do know that.
Well, here's what they are. They look like regular earmuffs that people wear to protect their hearing, but they have electronic mechanism inside that allows you to engage in normal conversation with no problem. But the electronic mechanism shuts down the amplification when there's a gunfire or similar loud noise. Now, here's what most people are not aware of because they've never used this kind of equipment. They amplify everything. So, a couple of years ago, I was here to protect my mother-in-law's home in St. Louis during the Ferguson riots, and I had my electronic earmuffs with me because I could be outside and I could hear the criminals talking in normal conversation, pretty far away. That's a tremendous tactical advantage to be able to hear things that other people cannot hear. So, if you find yourself in a situation where criminals mean you harm, and you have a pair of electronic earmuffs, you simply turn them on, put them on your ears, and you can hear things that you would never ever hear otherwise. And if life and property is at risk, any tactical advantage you can get, you should certainly get it, shouldn't you, Tom?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And John, I typically will look at the specifications for electronic devices. If they're published, it's always good to take a look at those. And what you want to pay attention to on those earmuffs is the response time and the attenuation. So what you want to look at is for the response time, if it hears a loud noise like a gunshot, how many milliseconds does it take to shut down that earpiece? And so that the minimum amount of milliseconds is what would be important there, and then the attenuation in decibels. How many decibels does it attenuate? I know a lot of earplugs and things like that are around anywhere from 25 to 30 or 31 decibels, which is quite a bit of attenuation. But the higher that number in attenuation, the better the isolation would be for the sound.
Absolutely, Ron. Entry level these days is around $20 delivered to your door, and of course you could spend a lot more than that on some of the high end products. They typically take either AAA batteries or AA batteries. They're very reliable, simple to use, and I certainly do advocate that. We got a caller on hold here. We got Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's one of those things with the earmuffs, until you experience it, you just can't hardly describe it. I mean, you can't appreciate what you're describing. And I did that the first time when I took my first pistol class out at Front Sight. It was mandatory. We had those for not only for your hearing protection, but for the safety aspect, so that when the range master was giving commands, you didn't tend to try to look at him to hear him better. You could keep your focus on making sure your muzzle was downrange. You could hear him like he was standing right behind you. And I've seen people before. Well, a few times I've been on ranges before, like in the military, we had earplugs, and the guys would pull out an earplug so they could hear the drill sergeant
That's
better.
right. Well, Dan,
it
we
was
got
aggravating because you're jerking your earplugs in and out.
We got a break. We'll be right back. Hold on, everybody.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 23rd of February. Well, we've recovered another image. One of our listeners has found another image on another movie of continents with new coastlines. We hope to have that posted soon. A little bit of work needs to be done on it yet. If you find one yourself, an image of a continent with new coastlines on a TV show or a movie, get that screen capture to me. You get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. It's a fun project. Look forward to finding a lot more this calendar year. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners. I use mine every night. I wake up in the morning pain-free, ready to hit it again, and you can also. If you have arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, if you're not getting a great night's sleep, then get yourself an energy cleaner. Only $285 shipping included. Keep in mind I have a 90-day money-back guarantee. Check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads. I'm shipping, 3 or 4, I think, over the weekend. Orders that came in this week. They're very comfortable, and you'll really like the mattress pads that go with the energy cleaner. So check out the details at my website where you can make your purchase using PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. I also have a toll-free order line 24 hours a day. You won't get me, just orders only. 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Tom Berryhill, and we're talking about emergency communications and what role the electronic earmuffs can play in that. Dan, are you still there?
I had another comment or so, if you don't mind.
Okay. Please, go ahead.
On a sidebar, what your little promo on your coastal maps, I checked out that one from Sea Hunt. Boy, is that one razor sharp.
It is. Yep.
It's one of the. I mean, of the others you can tell something's wrong, obviously, but that one you could almost read the name of the states on it. It's really, really clear.
Yep. Lloyd Bridges. That when I was a boy, that was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, he was one of my heroes. Superman was neat, but obviously he wasn't real. Lloyd Bridges was real. And when you can solve all your problems with a scuba tank, you're doing something.
Yeah, that was those were the days.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I know you know about it. If you're in a building like your house or any kind of enclosure, and firearms are going off, your head doesn't clear immediately by any means. Your ears are ringing. It's really almost painful, to say the least. And if you were involved in trying to protect yourself or loved ones, and you had those earmuffs on, you're going to be a lot more clear thinking during some kind of altercation than if you didn't have them on. I wouldn't you think so, John?
Well, absolutely. In fact, I was going to mention, depending on what surface is being walked on, if a criminal, for example, is walking on gravel, you will hear a very distinctive crunch, crunch, crunch before with the earmuffs that you would never hear otherwise until they were much, much closer. And that's, any movement, rustling of fabric, opening and closing of doors would be very distinctive and very loud. And you're also right, Dan, a firearm being discharged inside a confined space, like a building, it's kind of like the end of the world. It's incredibly loud.
And so grabbing your ears don't make it go away. It's too late, Yeah.
The earmuffs would be a big advantage. They don't show that in TV. They really don't. But it's firearms being discharged in a confined space is really an issue to deal with. So okay, anything else, Dan?
Well, yeah, just to reinforce what you said. The first time I ever had a pair on was out there at Front Sight, and I put them on, and you can dial up the intensity of the voice that you hear if there's somebody talking to you.
They have volume control.
Yeah, there's volume control, and I had it all the way up, and I was standing there kind of getting used to them, and I took my first step, and my heart fluttered. I thought somebody had jumped up behind me, and it was my own footprints.
Right.
In the gravel, footsteps in the gravel. It scared me. It was so loud.
Right.
Now, they really work. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you for the call. A friend of mine, he's suffered some hearing loss over the years. So he and his wife went for a walk in the woods, and he's wearing electronic earmuffs, and he's hearing the birds and the insects and the wind. And he turns to his wife and he says the following: "Is this what you hear all the time?" Because it was things he'd never heard before. Okay, our next caller is Ted in Hawaii. Good morning, Ted.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. I hear you now. Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, yeah, good. Well, it's a pleasure to listen. As always, it's 4:30 in the morning here, but I get up to listen to you live, and I started 50 years ago also with ham radio, just to let Tom know. I built a Heathkit DX68 transmitter and automatic keyer, and had a Helicopter's tube radio receiver, and it was great fun. I was 16 years old, and I went on to flying and became a professional pilot. So that's what I had a comment and then a question for you,
okay.
if I could go. Again, after 9/11, we pilots, our lives changed dramatically, and the airports changed. And of course, we had new policies where they fortified the cockpit and put Kevlar doors and procedures to restrict the access to the cockpit. I just feel like they need the same kind of thing for the school. I mean, you have to restrict the access, and then you have to arm the occupants, and it works. It works for the airplanes.
Well, that direction. We got the president. Right. We have a president as a cheerleader for doing exactly that, which is going to help a lot in this effort.
Yes, sir.
The children need to be protected, and that does need to happen, right?
And they have the protocols in place, which of course you were part of setting those up. So I mean, there are federal programs, and could be easily changed over for schools. But here's something I wanted to comment on or ask a question, and I realize that everybody's talking about restricting firearms and common sense gun control and all of this. But we have a plethora of laws and gun control laws already on the books. But here's something I realize that you don't hear talked about much, and that is every state has different laws. And actually, all the laws here in Hawaii are determined by actually the Board of Health, believe it or not, in Honolulu.
Really?
We have
Okay.
extremely tough gun control laws. We have mental health background checks requiring letters from doctors, hospitals. We have the FBI background check. We have a 14-day waiting period. This is for each firearm, each one. And you have to go in person to the firearms department at the Honolulu Police Department, where they see you through the window and they know you. And I'm saying it seems to work quite well. But this is the thing. Everybody seems to be under the illusion that the laws magically come from Washington. I don't think that's the case. They are all local. So if you're not happy with your laws, talk to your local police department and local government. This is something that's not talked about. Am I wrong?
Well, within the gun culture, it's talked about a lot, but outside the gun culture, it's not talked about that much, Ted.
Right. So until they federalize, if they federalize the laws, which they need to do, I think, regarding the background checks, universal. But
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Friday, the 23rd day of February, year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Well, the top news story continues to be the story out of Florida. Apparently, the television network CNN was scripting and controlling what was supposed to be spontaneous utterances from the young students who were on this TV show. So they just made themselves look like complete fools. And I'm glad that this one boy came forward to spill the beans about how CNN was controlling everything that took place at that allegedly spontaneous town hall meeting. Prepper tip of the day. If you have not tried out electronic earmuffs, most people have not. Most people don't know they even exist. I urge you to get yourself a pair. You can get them now on Amazon.com for about $20 delivered to your door. Electronic earmuffs, their main purpose is to protect your hearing while you're shooting firearms. However, consider this. If you're in a tactical situation where there's a home invasion, where there's criminals that mean you harm, if you have your electronic earmuffs on, you will have a dramatic tactical advantage. A dramatic tactical advantage to be able to hear the criminals, what they're saying to each other, if there's more than one, hear what they're doing at some distance away, things you would never hear otherwise. So your prepper tip of the day is to make sure all your team members have electronic earmuffs. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Tom Berryhill. Tom is a gentleman who took the time, made the effort, beginning more than half a century ago, to become a ham radio operator and go on to have a career involving electronics and radio frequency engineering. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning.
Well, sir, I want to talk a little bit about how communications could have helped what happened a week ago in Florida in that high school. I just found out yesterday, late in the day, there was a deputy sheriff on duty at that high school in uniform, armed, probably with body armor. The shooting incident lasted 7 minutes. The deputy did respond and was at the scene of the shooting within 90 seconds, a minute and a half, when he stopped and did not proceed to stop the shooter. Now, there's video of him cowering in his... this man was a coward, is a coward, cowering outside the building, refusing to go in. And what we don't know is the communication was taking place between him and his higher authority at the sheriff's office. We don't know if there were other officers responding, but this is a good example, I believe, of how effective communications may have made a difference in that. What do you think, sir?
Well, John, I heard about that fellow who did that. He I think he went in or something after 4 minutes or something like that. Way too late to be of any help. Certainly the wrong man for the job, that's for sure. But yeah, as to communications, I'm sure he had radio equipment, a portable radio with him. It probably would be interesting to listen to in on that conversation. I wonder.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder what was said. I heard he resigned, so he was
he was about to
resign.
He was within hours, if not minutes, of being suspended when he resigned. Of course, he's the one who will have to bear that burden the rest of his life, knowing that his cowardice caused an unknown number of deaths, because we don't know how many deaths he could have prevented. And he's the one who will have to live with that the rest of his life. And talk about a living hell. That would certainly be a living hell. But typical police procedures would have him either responding to a call from a dispatcher or responding on his own accord because of what was going on inside the school, and then reporting his progress and his observations as he's approaching the active shooter. I've been in some active shooter drills. One recently I was in was the FBI was the instructors. We had a couple of FBI agents out of St. Louis, I believe. And current protocols for responding to an active shooter is to not wait for backup, not go to the trunk of your car to put on your black ninja jumpsuit, just to immediately run into the school and stop the active shooter immediately. That's how they're trained nationwide these days, Tom. So there's probably recordings, assuming he followed protocols, of him reporting his status, where he was, what he was hearing, what he was observing, and what he was about to do or not do. And hopefully those recordings will be made public. Tom, what do you think?
Well, they should be. And John, yes, most radio traffic on police channels is recorded. And it's what surprises me, though, is I guess kind of like the body camera. Sometimes the equipment malfunctions at the, when the action gets kind of hot. But you know what I'm saying? It's
right.
Sometimes the recordings mysteriously didn't work at that proper moment. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. I used to work on some of that equipment, by the way, for St. Louis County Police, and it was quite an elaborate recording system. There were malfunctions, but they were very rare.
Well, I know back in the 70s, St. Louis City Police Department set up a, by today's standards, primitive tracking system using radio equipment. And the police officers, when they would go on duty, they would wrap aluminum foil around the antenna at the beginning of the shift.
That would work.
and then when their shift was over, they would remove the aluminum foil.
Oh, boy.
So, which brings up, I know, which brings up something I mention occasionally, and that's there's always a simple, inexpensive countermeasure for any expensive, high-tech Star Wars technology, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There's always countermeasures that are very inexpensive and simple. Sometimes the more sophisticated the system is, the easier it is to defeat with very simple methods.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to radios, people need to have the knowledge, they need to have the equipment, they need to have the training, and of course practice, don't they?
That's right. That's right. And you know, John, we talk so much about the emergency uses of these radios. I like.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Friday, the 23rd day of February, year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Well, the top news story continues to be the story out of Florida. Apparently, the television network CNN was scripting and controlling what the what was supposed to be spontaneous utterances from the young students who were on this TV show. So they just made themselves look like complete fools. And I'm glad that this one boy came forward to spill the beans about how CNN was controlling everything that took place at that allegedly spontaneous town hall meeting. Prepper tip of the day. If you have not tried out electronic earmuffs, most people have not. Most people don't know they even exist. I urge you to get yourself a pair. You can get them now on Amazon.com for about $20 delivered to your door. Electronic earmuffs, their main purpose is to protect your hearing while you're shooting firearms. However, consider this. If you're in a tactical situation where there's a home invasion, where there's criminals mean you harm, if you have your electronic earmuffs on, you will have a dramatic tactical advantage. A dramatic tactical advantage to be able to hear the criminals, what they're saying to each other, if there's more than one, hear what they're doing at some distance away, things you would never hear otherwise. So your prepper tip of the day is to make sure all your team members have electronic earmuffs. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Tom Berryhill. Tom is a gentleman who took the time, made the effort, beginning more than half a century ago, to become a ham radio operator and go on to have a career involving electronics and radio frequency engineering. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning.
Well, sir, I want to talk a little bit about how communications could have helped what happened a week ago in Florida in that high school. I just found out yesterday, late in the day, there was a deputy sheriff on duty at that high school in uniform, armed, probably with body armor. The shooting incident lasted 7 minutes. The deputy did respond and was at the scene of the shooting within 90 seconds, a minute and a half, when he stopped and did not proceed to stop the shooter. Now, there's video of him cowering in his the pushback from liberals and anti-gun people is, if and when it ever comes up, that's something you need to be doing. Along the same lines, there's what they call hearing amplifiers, that they can't call them hearing aids because then it would fall under the FDA, that are also noise canceling. So they will amplify normal sounds, but cancel out the gunfire. And those are a lot smaller, a lot more discreet, and more comfortable to wear, as opposed to the larger, heavier earmuffs. So that's something else. That's an Amazon item, by the way. I think for around $20, you can get a hearing amplifier that looks like a hearing aid that will be noise canceling also. Lots of options out there, aren't there, Tom?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even aware of those, John. I'll look into that myself. That could be a very handy thing to have in your toolkit.
Absolutely. Tom, thank you, sir. We'll talk privately soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Okay, top of the hour break. We'll be back with Dr. Phil Myers. Stay tuned. Right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Moore here, our second hour on Friday, the 23rd of February. Prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage people to get themselves and their team members electronic earmuffs. There's different iterations of these, different versions, ranging from the larger, heavier ones that are commonly worn at gun ranges to small, discreet ones that look like hearing aids that will amplify normal sounds and shut down when there's loud sounds. So that's your prepper tip of the day. A lot of fun. Okay, we have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Dr. Phil Myers, D.C. Dr. Myers is a chiropractic physician living and working in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Real easy to get started with Dr. Myers. Just call his office, set up that first private, no-charge consultation at 314-878-6868. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, John. How's everything going this morning?
Well, all things considered, pretty well. My wife, Dr. Moore, said to let you know she got your text and she would get back with you today, sir.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, myself and my listeners, we look forward each week to our health tip of the week. What would that be today, sir?
Well, we're going to be talking about self-care, and taking care of oneself is the biggest health tip of the week. Like, for example, if I'm talking about myself here, I have a family that I'm working with. I have a practice that I'm working with. I have my own life that I'm working with. I have all my clientele that I'm working with, staff that I'm working with, and obviously everything that revolves around that: money, job, finances, and career, and then relationships, on how I am with myself in relationship, how I am with myself with others in relationship, and then how I receive others in that relationship that I am for everybody else. So then when you're working, so that with all of that type of information coming through, and that's me. And so think about your own life and what your daily interactions, your weekly things that you're needing to be involved with, your commitments, and all that type of stuff. And then after you've put all that stuff together, take a look at all that inventory and where are the things in your life that have fallen through the cracks. That if, for example, if you have a really, really messy drawer, it doesn't even matter because you're by yourself, you're doing that drawer. But then, for example, you have people come into your space and they're looking for things, and then obviously this drawer that used to be just for you and can be disorganized and all in shambles. Eventually, now it's like, okay, well, other people are looking for this, and that drawer, instead of becoming like a place where you're just throwing all your stuff in there because you don't have time to deal with it, ends up becoming a thing that keeps your mind always coming back to that drawer. And every time you come back to that drawer and every time you see it, underlining your emotions are maybe tired, a little resentment, maybe judgment, whatever emotions can be there, withdrawal, all these different types of things, because they're like, man, I just don't want to deal with that. Well, those are the things that eventually eat you up inside. Those are the things that create all the inflammatory reactions within your neurological pathways that are linked to emotion. So, and then you go and eat a comfort food. It's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I just need a beer. Or, oh, I'm stressed out. You know what? Oh, wow, those potato chips, those look so amazing. I'm just going to have those tonight. And even though you know that there's hidden oils in there, that even though they promote themselves as health food, if you go that route, but it has hidden oils in there, which we know are empirically inflammatory, and you eat them anyways. And now on top of being tired and now going for that addiction because you want to hide from the issue that you're suppressing, even though it's unconscious, you go and have the potato chips. So now you have injury upon insult within the inflammatory cascades. So you can see where the downward spiral could eventually go. But what I'm suggesting for the health tip of the week is to be really cognitive of those things. So, for example, I have all these different types of things that I'm dealing with, and they finally gotten to a head. And for myself, I heard, you know what? I need to take a week off and refocus and recalibrate what is all going on in my life. And then I just said this to myself, and I was like, oh, yeah, someday in the future I'll do that. Then, so I heard it from myself once. Then one of my friends, just out of the blue, no prompting, no nothing, didn't even talk to her about any of this. She's just like, you know what? You really need to take a week off. I'm like, okay, now I heard it a second time. And so if I hear it from myself first, then I hear it from somebody else second, the third step that you do is take an action step and actually do it. So listening to yourself, knowing how to do self-care, is very important. Now, a lot of people might say, well, I can't afford to take a week off. It must be nice. Well, you know what? At some point, there's never a right time to do anything that you fear is going to affect you in a negative way. And sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and actually do what you know you need to do in order for you to get the results that you know you can get. Because you know that if you don't do it, you're just going to continue living the same life over and over and over again, expecting a different result, but it never shows up because you never gave yourself the actual time to sit, reflect, pull back, contemplate, and then make a informed decision that's not based upon emotion or any type of other aspect of that you've really sat there, you've prayed about it or meditated, whatever language you want to use, you've looked at all the options, you've finished the tasks that need to be required. So, for example, easy one that someone could do is say, okay, let me look at my kitchen. Let me go into my refrigerator, let me go into my cabinet, and I'm going to eliminate these particular things that I know that are inflammatory to my body and that cause problems. I don't care how good they taste. I don't care what family orientation they had to my ability to just go have them every day and say, hey, I just want this now. But you know that they actually cause problems. We're getting to a point in our life where there's so much evidence that certain things just do not fit. And you and I know, and our listeners for surely know, that corporations, the powers that be, they do not have your best interest. All they want is, did you know, okay, for example, did you know that the health industry is close to a $400 trillion industry in promoting quote-unquote health food? And you don't think that the companies that were selling the junk food don't know this? And so now they're creating quote-unquote health food off-branded from their major company, do all the marketing, have all the perfect pretty colors, have all the little perfect names that they put on the package to make you see, oh, wow, this is quote-unquote healthy food. And then they get the labels of, and they do say, okay, I'm going to add a little bit of non-GMO to this and promote it that way because the consumers really like that. And I'm going to say certified organic, and I'm going to make sure that my company does that because it's worth the price, because in the long run I'm going to still short them by putting inflammatory preserves in the foods that cost me nothing to make, pennies of the dollar, instead of not putting it in there. The shelf life will be shorter, and it's going to cost me more, and my bottom line is going to be less. So I'm going to cheat them in the long run so I can get the profit back. And unbeknownst to them, I'm selling them health food. But if you actually looked in the ingredients as an informed consumer, you see all the hidden oils in all these different foods. And so that's what's happened. The industries recognize that we've woken up, that there's products out there like, oh yeah, they're going to see these crazy products, because there's an awakened group here that's not quite awake, but they're woke enough to know that if this preservative's in there, they're not going to buy it. But if I put like sunflower oil or olive oil or coconut oil or it's the avocado oil in there, they're going to say, okay, those are healthy oils, so I'm going to have those. But unbeknownst to now the public, they don't know that it's actually a preserved version of that once put into their body turns into an inflammatory cascade, increases all the neurochemicals of inflammation, and then their body gets bloated and this and that and that. But they bought my health food, and now I can go buy my car. And that's all they care about. So being an informed consumer, taking the time to go and do the things you know you need to do, and really doing them is so, so, so important. And that's just how it is. And so the health tip of the week really emphasizes on taking that time for yourself and putting the things that you know you need to do into full-fledged action steps. And so, like, for example, what I did is I'm like, okay, one of the biggest action steps that I did was making the decision, I am taking a week off. And so I am. After this phone call, my week starts off.
Well, good for you, Doc.
Thank
good
you.
For you.
I'm taking the whole week off to recalibrate what's going on in my world. People that are following me now on my website at phiwholeness.com are following me on Facebook at phiwholeness, or following me on Instagram at phiwholeness. So it's really easy to find me. And if you're following, you're seeing that there's a lot of stuff coming in now. Well, that's taking a lot of time and effort and forethought. Well, it's getting to a head where it's like, okay, I have now also my practice that I'm dealing with people and employees and money in, money out, care plans and treatment protocols and all these different types of things that we're keeping track of as well. That I hold it in my mind. And so I got the marketing, I got that, then I have family and amazing events with my family or health issues with family members. I mean, we all have that. So eventually it just gets to a point where it's like, oh my God, then you're thinking about yourself. Like, okay, this is the food that I'm eating. This is the exercise that I am or am not doing. And is it working? Is it working as well as you thought? And giving yourself the time to really, in some people, it was like for a while, I could just take the afternoon and really collect myself or get a lot of download just from my 15-minute meditation in the morning and my 30-minute meditation regrouping at night. And I said, those are the things I do every day. And even with that, eventually it gets to a point where it's like, you know what, there's so much stuff that needs to get done that it's going to require this much, quote-unquote, time, effort, and collection to actually see it all come together. And everybody's a little different. We all want these really, really, really fast results. But if you really look at it, things do take some time. And that time that you're dealing with is more than anything the emotional story and the memory you've had about certain things taking a particular amount of time. And the more you start working on that, you'll be amazed at how fast you can get stuff done. Like, I'm expecting what would have in my past taken me probably about a month is I'm going to see pretty much mostly all of it done in about a week. Now, I'm pushing the limits on this, but I'm also giving myself the time away from other commitments to focus my mind, focus my attention, focus my energy on 3 specific tasks.
Doctor, your signal is going here, at least what I'm hearing on my end. Are you still there, sir?
I'm here. You hear me now?
Okay. Are you on a cell phone or a landline?
Landline.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta love the landlines, right?
Well, let's continue. Yeah,
so I've given myself I've given myself 3 specific tasks to work on this particular week. So you set yourself up for success. So when you're doing whatever you're going to do for your self-care, set yourself up for success. It's very easy for us to just say, "Oh, I'm just going to do this, and I'll see what happens." Now, trust me, I'm all about being spontaneous and free-flowing, everything like that.
Hold that thought, Doctor. We have a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
Network thanks you.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 23rd of February. Quick reminder, I will be the keynote speaker at the Hear the Watchman conference. It will be more than 1,200 Christians in Dallas, Texas, March 22nd to the 25th. If you want a $20 discount, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Get the promotion code for the discount for the live event. There's a different discount for the live streaming if you can't make it in person. Look forward to seeing a lot of you there. Visiting with Dr. Phil Myers. Easy way to get started with Dr. Myers. Call his office, set up that first private, no-charge consultation, and you can gain access to the same expertise that I do. That office telephone number is 314-878-6868. Let's continue, Doctor.
So, are we there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So that's really the health tip of the week is everything. I'm really talking to everybody, but specifically the listeners that listen to us repeatedly and have heard so much knowledge is to take a little bit of that and really implement it. I mean, there's just... I was introduced to a YouTube video a couple weeks ago, and this one guy, he was doing like a Facebook Live type of thing, and he was so proud of his success in implementing 3 things. And those 3 things were daily gratitude, which we've talked about ad nauseum on our show. we've talked about, then he was talking about hot, cold alternating showers. Another thing we've talked about ad nauseum, and daily breathing techniques, and just taking the time to do some deep breathing in and breathe out, which, again, we've talked about ad nauseum here. And he implemented those three things just daily, and he talked about in his Facebook Live how it has literally changed his life. His perspective on his relationships with his family and his kids, and his and what he does for a living, all those different types of things. So what I'm talking about is find something that is worth your life in changing it, because the reality is we are in a state of flux right now in our world where the old systems are literally dying out. All this cruddy food, all this propaganda that you are a disempowered being that is destined to die in early life, that is destined to just be a worker bee, to pay your taxes, which goes to not where you think it's going, but to places that no one really talks about, but it's all out there. We'll talk about that another day. But, it's all this propaganda, and then what's the sad part is the reality of it, the truth of the matter, that you are an empowered being. You do not have to have these disempowered thought processes in your mind that have been literally programmed in you since conception, because it was your parents listening and watching the same stuff, and then you came out, and there was the TV, there was the radio, there was the commercials, there was the education, there was the religious institutes, all saying the same propaganda. And so here you are, but here's the thing. The reality is that they've been saying that the reality is the propaganda, and that you are not a disempowered. You are a disempowered person, but to say you are an empowered person, that you can get away from eating these crazy foods, that you don't have to be listening to this, that all this. There's so much. I know I'm talking in code, but right now it's kind of important to just start a dialogue.
Hold that thought. We got our bottom of the hour break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 23rd of February. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. We'll soon have our second image of continents, all the continents with new coastlines, posted a 2006 film, one of these disaster films. It should be posted hopefully by Monday. There are several images. They're nice and sharp enough, clear enough. If you find an image of a continent with new coastlines on a TV show or a movie, get that screen capture to me. The first one this year is a very nice, crystal clear, sharp one, as Dan mentioned earlier in this show. If you find one, get that to me. You get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. It's a fun project. Let's move forward with it. Of course, energy cleaners. That's my home project, my home business. When you place your order, I'm the guy that boxes them up. I take them to the little country post office in Cherryville, Missouri, and I post them to you priority mail. Only $285 shipping included for the energy cleaner. If you have arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, you certainly need an energy cleaner. Not getting a great night's sleep, well, as my wife, Dr. Moore, says, when you sleep is when you heal. You'll sleep better than you have in years with your energy cleaner. Keep in mind, I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. And check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads. Most people these days are getting the mattress pad from the get-go. And everything's right there at my website at thelibertyman.com, where you can make your purchase using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can call up my toll-free line also to make your purchase. That's 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting Dr. Phil Myers, my personal physician. If you got a question for Dr. Myers, give us a call at 800-313-9443. If you want to get started with Dr. Myers as his client, call his office, set up that first private no-charge consultation at 314-878-6868. Let's continue, Doctor.
So you're very versed on what is or what is not really happening in the world. And
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
So inform our listeners from this standpoint of health and wellness, of like some of the realities that are out there that really are false, and what's some of the realities that are really true that you know empirically from your expertise and experience.
Well, let's just pick one, and that would be that the climate is changing because of human activity. That's an absolutely false narrative. That's easily disproven. Carbon dioxide is actually good for the planet, and if human activity has any effect on the climate at all, it would be a fraction of 1%. By comparison, one good size, not even a large, volcano does more to change the climate in one day than human activity does in 1 year. It's a narrative to distract and obfuscate, a narrative that's meant to give people hope that if human activity can make it worse, then human activity can make it better, giving people hope when in fact there is no hope. The climate is changing, and it will be changing far more quickly as these years move forward. So that's just one example, Doctor.
Okay, so from a health and wellness standpoint, what is it that's something that you and I can do on a daily basis that follows, for example, what we've been talking about with the health tip of the week, really taking care of yourself? With that type of false narrative going on out there, what's one of the things that we can really gravitate towards to start doing something for ourselves would help that?
Absolutely. Well, the details are in a 22-page report paid for with your tax dollars that outline that the human carrying capacity of this planet will be dramatically reduced as the climate changes. Therefore, what people can do themselves is somehow, some way, become part of agriculture. They may not have to live at the farm, but if they could participate by contributing hours or money to a hobby farm where healthy food is actually grown on site, that will help them in the long run and give them some peace of mind, knowing that if food becomes an issue, either for availability or price or both, that they will still have access to healthy food for themselves and the people they love, Doctor.
Okay, so basically you're saying the whole climate change narrative is basically hiding the fact that we're going to be losing our food sources, which technically aren't food sources altogether anyways. They're actually the very unhealthy foods, but that food industry is losing its grips, and that we're going to be required to learn how to grow our own food anyways and take care of our own body with quote-unquote real healthy food in the long run, correct?
Absolutely, Doctor. Absolutely. In first world countries, it'll be more of an issue of the price increasing for food while availability will still be plentiful. In third world countries, the price increases will mean starvation and malnutrition. And eventually, we actually could get into shortages in this country as well. But there needs to be two focuses. Focus on healthy food and gaining access to the healthy food.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's something. So what's the unhealthy food? We all know this. Basically anything with a barcode.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but close, very close, very close.
I mean, so let's talk about, because if you, honestly, I was so funny because I was walking through Costco, because I have a membership at Costco, and I was shopping around and looking for stuff for our house and stuff like that, and I went down the food aisles, and so here's one of the things that's an unhealthy food, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, the hidden oils. So when you go to your grocery store, go and look at all your products that you're going to put in your cart, look in the ingredients. If you see anything in the ingredients that says oil, it's inflammatory, which means it makes your organs function less. It dampens your brain, which makes you, quote-unquote, dumber and more foggy, not able to have clear thoughts. And I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how many PhDs or doctorates or none that you have behind your name. No one's exempt to those neurotoxins. It's going to burn you out. The younger you are, the more you can handle. The older you get, the faster you're going to burn out. So let's all look at this one choice in food, the hidden oils. And let's get those out of your life. Let's stop promoting that in our own health and start looking at it from a way that start getting close to the other foods that would be considered healthy. Most of your produce that now let's start getting away from GMO, right?
Right.
So let's look at the hidden oils in your food, and then second, look at non-GMO produce. I think that'd be a pretty good place for people to start.
It would be non-GMO, well, organic. I look for organic is what I look for also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so so that's a really good thing. So what else is it that? So why climate change? Are they utilizing that narrative to hide food sources? What's the big deal?
Okay, here's the big deal, Doctor. It's obfuscation. The reason is they being the powers that be, they want people to keep getting 30-year mortgages, going to work every day at their normal jobs, instead of saying, I'm out of here, I'm going to go become part of a hobby farm. Especially business owners. Almost half of all the jobs in this country are owned by individuals who have a small business, 100 or less employees. Many of them are financially secure to the point where they could sell it, close the doors, and lock up and take off to become part of a hobby farm. If even a small percentage of people did that own these small businesses, it would be incredibly disruptive to the U.S. economy. So these people need to be placated. They need to be distracted, and they need to keep their businesses going that provide almost half the jobs in this country, Doctor. That's why this narrative is moving forward, to keep people in place, working day to day, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, to keep this whole economy going, as opposed to taking off for the woods of the Ozarks and establishing hobby farms.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've noticing that within my own business itself. It's like that's why I'm taking this particular week off, is because my long-term goal is to have a bit, for example, one thing within healthcare. We've always been told that you need to go to your doctor in order for you to get better. Correct?
Well, I would take it a step before that. You can live your life any way you choose, eat anything or don't eat anything you choose, and when something is broken and there's pain, then you go to the doctor to fix it.
Exactly. That's the perfect narrative. That's exactly what's going on. And so then you have people like me saying, when people like you saying, well, no, you can't technically. So then that gets all off track because you immediately said you can't do something, and no one likes to be told what to do, even though we've been told what to do.
Right.
So, yeah, I completely agree. There's a degree of smart choices, smart decisions that, honestly, there are things that you should not be eating. I mean, for example, we've talked about the dairy products. Totally should not be eating those things. They are not designed for human consumption at all. And so then the other one is all these wheat products that are out there because of the genetic modification of the wheat. It is empirically, because of the agricultural developments and Monsanto, that these foods literally destroy your gut. Think of your gut as a hose from your mouth all the way through to the end. One big tube. Now, if you're a gardener and your hose from your house to your garden is full of holes, when you turn that water on, is that an effective hose to get the water to the other side? No, obviously not. Just as much as your gut, their whole entire tube, when you eat GMO wheat, which is in everything, when you put that in your mouth, you are literally poking holes in your entire digestive tract, creating leaky gut, creating inflammatory problems that literally burn out your brain. It gets that bad. And we know this, right?
We do. Well,
there's so much evidence.
Right. In addition to the GMO aspects of the wheat, there's also the glyphosate, which adds more fuel to the fire.
And tell everybody what a glyphosate is.
Well, glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, the most popular weed killer on the planet, which has very strong adverse effects on human beings once they ingest it. And
one of those things is, what does it do? It puts holes literally in your gut. There's a thing called a tight junction. And it's basically two cells that come together and formulate a seal. And anybody like anything that you put together, they put caulk around it, they put sealant to keep everything together. Well, that's what a tight junction is within your digestive tract. And these GMO Roundup saturated plants, when you ingest them, that glyphosate literally takes away the caulking, and you lose the connectivity of your tight junctions, and you put holes literally in your gut. And then that creates so much inflammation that you get the stiff joints, you get the tight muscles, you get all these different types of things that start happening to you. Now, and here's the sad part is, so let's not go so fast. most people don't even notice the stiffness aspects of their joints because we're so sedentary now. We're such a sedentary we have more exercise. The exercise industry is trillions and trillions of dollars. But then overall why are we more obese? Why do we have more diabetes and blood sugar issues? Why do we have more cardiovascular problems? Why do we have more irritable bowel and digestive problems? It's got to be something. But if, according to the powers that be, you can eat any. What did we say? You can eat anything, think anything, do anything you want, and just keep doing it until it breaks, and then we'll fix it for you, right?
That's right. That's right.
And people used to come to me when I first opened up practice, and I'm like, so what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Fix me, doc. Like, it used to be a catchphrase. Here, fix me, doc. Like, oh, my God, wait a second. That's because that's what we've been told. The doctor fixes you, and I don't have to change.
Right. They're transferring their thought process they use with allopathic medical doctors to what you do, which doesn't work, does it?
Oh, it doesn't work because, fortunately, the model that is not the AMA is, whatever we're going to call it, is the model of self-empowerment. Paying attention to actually, yeah, you know what? You can eat anything you want. And what do you choose? Do you choose to put the things in your mouth that you know, because of all the evidence, all the empirical reviewed literature that literally says these things are taking your life away. I mean, literally, we're not talking like 5 years of your life. We're talking 40, 50, 70 years.
Hold that thought, doctor. Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday the 23rd of February, visiting with Dr. Phil Myers. You also can gain access to this expertise. It's real simple, doesn't cost you anything. Make that first private, no-charge consultation. Call his office, set it up at 314-878-6868. Got about 2.5 minutes here, Doctor.
So I suggest everybody start doing one of those things. Also, get on social media right now. We'll decentralize everything later and move on to the new systems as time goes on. But for right now, get on the media so we can start building up this community of communication. People like you that listen to shows like this need to start really stating this voice. And my website, my Facebook page, and my Instagram is going to be a catalyst for that type of information coming out from taking all this data that is from science to what was considered esotericism and putting it all together and saying, hey, you know what? This is the new energy. This is the new science, and this is how this really works. And so go to FiWholeness.com. Go to Fi Wholeness on Facebook. Go to John's website. Read his information. The Health Ranger, Mike Adams, amazing information out there. He's got some great stuff. Start following people like him. Start educating yourself on the information, and then taking the small action steps that you can do in your home, in your space. We got the people that are awake in the industry. We have the people, presidents, CEOs, managers, project managers, they're awake in these industries. They're making the changes in the bigger systems. But we need you to do it in your own small microcosm. So start making those changes for yourself. And when the big shifts happen, you'll be prepared. And we talk about preparedness here all the time, but this is a preparedness within your own self-sovereignty.
That's right.
It's huge.
It is huge.
I don't care what changes out there happen until you own your own sovereignty within your food, your thoughts, and your movements. You might be a little behind.
That's right. That's right. Well, I hope people will listen up and pay heed and do the right thing, Doctor.
Well, all I know is after this week, I'm going to be on fire like crazy. You and I are going to talk during the week, and we're going to figure some stuff out on how what we're going to do in terms of talking to everybody for how I want to start talking to people on our show, and what we're going to do in terms of really awakening everybody, because it's time. No more sleeping.
Absolutely, Doctor. I could not agree more. Thank you, sir. Have a great time off and get your batteries recharged.
Thanks. You too. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. That's it for the day. That's it for the week. Get your medical supplies, your energy cleaning, your essential oils now while you can. Your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day and weekend. And God bless America.